can't eat.
There's something powerful about the journey of leadership, the daily steps, the long-term vision, and everything we learn along the way. Welcome to Leadership Labs, where we explore these journeys with the incredible leaders of Aurora Public Schools. In each episode, we hear from those who are helping guide our district toward Destination APS, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, we're excited to have Kristin Weidmeier, principal of William Smith High School, our highest performing district-run high school. And what makes Kristin's story particularly remarkable is her commitment to a single school community. She's dedicated her entire career so far to William Smith, from teacher and coach to principal, spanning over 2 decades. Let's explore how this deep connection to one community has shaped her leadership marathon. Kristin, welcome. Before we dive into your leadership journey, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be only the third guest. I moved here in 2003, fresh out of college. And so I'm from a small town just north of Kansas City called St. Joseph, Missouri. And I went to college there. And then I really wanted to be a coach. I wanted to coach high school volleyball and basketball. And so that's how I got into be a teacher. So I was a math teacher and got hired at William Smith over the phone, sight unseen, knew nothing about Aurora, knew nothing about the school, but knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to work with kids. And so I ended up here 22 years ago almost.
Wow. Well, we are glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about William Smith. What makes William Smith High School unique, and especially for aspiring high school principals out there? What does a typical day in the life of the principal at William Smith look like?
William Smith is unique in a lot of different ways. It has an expeditionary learning model. And so our philosophy around education is very much around hands-on, project-based connection with the natural world. We believe really strongly in creating a positive and accepting school culture and climate for staff and for students. And so not only do we really focus on rigorous academics, project-based learning, but we focus a lot on getting the students outside their comfort zone in a supportive way to create that culture where they feel like they can be accepted and be accepting of each other and be comfortable and be safe. That I think makes it unique. Relationships are really important at William Smith. It's small, so we have 380 students, 9th grade through 12th grade. So we can really make those connections and get that, whether it's academic support, social emotional support, family support. We have students that we've had multiple generations of the family, and because I've been there so long, I've had them all. I've taught moms and aunts and uncles, and now I have their kids. And so that connection, that really generational connection, is super important. I don't think any school leader would probably tell you there's a typical day. I try to start the day the same way by being at the front of the building, and either being outside or right inside the main office and greet the students when they come in. Everybody kind of comes through the same door. So, they get a good morning, they get, whether they're there on time or not, they get a good morning and a welcoming environment to come to start their day. And then I think it just depends on what my staff needs and what the kids need. And that's kind of dictates my day. There's things in between their meetings and stuff like that, but I'm in classrooms or I'm meeting with kids or, whatever support needs to happen. You have to be flexible as a leader, and you have to just realize that you may have something planned for the day. It may or may not get done, and just kind of go with it. So I'd say that's a typical day.
Yeah, that's been the trend so far. We had a chance to speak with the superintendent and also with Lori, who's an elementary leader, and there are some elements that are typical, but it sounds like they're not. The entire day is not typical.
Right.
So as I just shared, we've had a chance to speak with both Superintendent Mike and with Lori. I'm really fascinated to hear a little bit more about the high school perspective. How would you describe the specific challenges and opportunities for high school leadership
I say the challenges and opportunities are kind of the same. So you're watching these students before your eyes go from children to adults.
Mhm.
When they come to you in ninth grade, especially at the beginning of ninth grade, they're still kids. They may be in high school now, but they're still right, which is like a challenge and a really good opportunity because their minds are still moldable and their personalities haven't quite shaped yet. And so you feel like you really have a role in not only helping them academically, but helping to inform the kind of person they're going to be and help them realize the kind of person they're going to be. And so it's like that's a challenge too, because it's such a huge shift and it's such an uncertain time for them. And there's a lot of anxiety and there's just a lot of emotion that come in that time.
Yeah.
And so it's challenging for them and it's challenging for us to manage. But, the opportunities are so unique, right? You really see them become people, to come into their own and who they're going to be and what they're going to pursue in life. And you feel like you have a role in helping them get to that point, which is like so cool to see. And then, like I said, once you know, you get siblings and you get to know the whole family and you see them all kind of transform in that way when you're in a small community,
Right.
which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I think probably some folks might say like a sixth grader, you get to see them through eighth grade and they
Yeah.
change, and kindergarten through fifth grade, and I think that what you're saying is spot on. Just kids change quite a bit in the short time that we have them, whether it's
Yeah.
high school or elementary or middle school.
Yeah. And I think at high school, like it's like our role in it is done.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not like you get to send them on and
Yeah,
they're going to keep
yeah.
growing. Like you have to make sure that when they're leaving there, that
Yeah.
they're ready for
Right.
life. And so that's a big responsibility, of helping them figure out what that looks like and then making sure that they have academic skills and social skills and all that. Cause it's like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
here we go.
Yes. Well, you've had the unique experience of spending your entire career at William Smith. Would love to hear a little bit about your first role there and what drew you to the community. And also, just as I'm reflecting, I had the opportunity to join Superintendent Mike and several nearby superintendents. And one of them is the superintendent of the district that I graduated from. And I hadn't thought about this for a while, but they asked me, why why didn't you stay here?
There?
And I said, I remember like leaving college, and in the spring I had actually secured a job at that school district, but then I got a call from one of the trustees from my undergrad school, who was a mentor of mine, who said, we have a classroom teaching position available that we'd love for you to join the team for. And the other district, it was an ELD class, which I was passionate about, but I wanted to have my own classroom, and so that's why I made the jump. But what's funny is I was hired as a preschool teacher initially.
Oh, wow.
And that summer I got a phone call from my principal, my now then principal, and she said, "Hey, the preschool job is yours if you want it, but I have a vacancy in fifth grade and I think you'd be great for it. I have another candidate who I think would be great for ECE." And I said, "Yeah, I'll do fifth grade." And I love fifth grade. And so we had our APS job fair last weekend, and my son and I were walking around and joking about, hey, we're looking for fifth grade vacancies, but
really good ones.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I think, I didn't want to be in Missouri anymore, and nothing against that or anything. It just, I think always from the time I was little, I just wanted to explore and be other places. My dad was an artist and I got to travel a lot with him and see all over the country and just see that, like, I wanted to be somewhere that was different and was a little more diverse and, all of those things. And my brother was in school at Boulder. And so I had that, I knew somebody here, and my best friend from high school moved here at the same time I did. And I wish I could say I picked Aurora, but I picked whoever give me a job.
Yeah.
I was 22. I was like, I need a job. But I remember very vividly, like I interviewed over the phone with a couple of different schools. One was in Woodland Park, one was a couple in Aurora, and Anthony Sturgis called and offered me my job. And it's like one of those moments in life that you're like, okay, it's happening, right? I'm an adult now. And so I moved over the summer and I started at William Smith, and it was a very different type of school then. It was the alternative school, and it was very, half the size it is now, and there was only 2 math teachers. And so it really, as a new teacher, I got so much support and so much just whether it was with content or just like how to manage students or any of that, because it was so small. And then as the years went on and we grew, it still maintained that small feel, And so I never wanted to leave, because we were constantly innovating and creating and thinking about what's new and what's different. And so you just never feel like it's done. Right. And so you want to stay and be a part of that. And then you become more and more of a part of it. And you see it grow and you see it be successful. And it's just, I never wanted to leave. I still don't want to leave. So yeah.
Awesome. I think you might, if you heard Lori's and you heard Mike's and another I think theme that we're sort of uncovering is that many educators discover their leadership calling through unexpected moments or opportunities. So sort of that, like, I wasn't planning to be a principal, or I wasn't planning to be a superintendent, or that wasn't in the plans. Was there a defining moment for you, or when did you realize that you wanted to make that transition?
I think I don't know. I listened to Lori's and I listened to Superintendent Mike's and stuff, and it's like, I don't know, there was one moment, but there was definitely opportunities I was given that then I really realized, oh, I really like this, it's creative in a way that I didn't understand, and if you had told me even when I first started at William Smith that this was going to be my path, I would have, what are you talking about? Like I said, I wanted to be a coach, like that was my focus. But it's kind of the same, right? Being the school leader. So, I think I was still very young. I don't even know if I was 30 yet. And we had a principal, and her name was Jane Shirley. And I think she saw something in me that I didn't quite even see yet, right? And so she would give me opportunities. And, in 2007, so I was 27. I had only been teaching for 4 or 5 years. We decided to transition to an expeditionary learning school, and she asked, who wants to go to the national conference? And I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I went to Catholic school. I don't know anything but traditional school, and like, we're talking about making these big changes, and I want to be involved with it, and I want to know how I can be better. And this way of teaching sounds way more fun than my way of teaching. And so I went to the first national conference for expeditionary learning in Oakland. And I like vividly remember on the plane on the way back, talking to the other people that went with us and talking to her about, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this, and just the excitement and the energy you feel about thinking about what's possible and knowing that you can do it, like you can create that at your building. And one of the things was crew, and crew is like expeditionary learning's advisory structure, and it's very social emotional learning, but it's also team building and community building and service and those. And I was really drawn to that. And Jane was like, why don't you be in charge of crew? And I was like, okay, So that was kind of my first role as like doing something I was in charge of. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And, we talked about it a lot, and she gave me a lot of roles as instructional coach, and I was the dean for a while, and I was the athletic director. And so I just had all these opportunities of all the different parts, the operations part, the academic part, the culture and community part. So I felt really prepared when I was like, I want to keep going with this, But that was kind of, I think if I had to pick one part, that was probably it.
The expeditionary learning conference, and that's awesome. You mentioned a couple of names already, but would love to hear more about any others, or even more about the two you've mentioned. Any key mentors that helped to shape your leadership approach during your journey?
Yeah, I think Jane, she was the catalyst for a lot of the shifts that happened at William Smith, and I learned a lot from her about how to communicate and be really clear about your vision and making sure that your staff is clear about the vision and everybody's on the same page. And she was just a very, creative person, a very innovative, think outside the box, like her whole life, I think. And so I definitely learned that from her. And then when she retired and I became the assistant principal and the assistant principal became the principal, his name was Dave Roll. And I learned so much from him about patience and about dealing with people and about the human side of being a principal. Like so much. He is like the kindest person, but also can hold your feet to the fire when he needs to, And so I learned a ton from both of them. I was very lucky. Those are the only two principals I ever had as a teacher. I didn't have a revolving door of people. Right. So I was very lucky to have that. And then I think once I got into the principalship, COVID happened my first year. Like it was trial by fire, and my LCD at that time was Garrett Rosa, and I learned a ton from him, and I've learned from my principal colleagues. Like there's no shortage of people. And then I would say the other person is Chelsea Auden. She's my assistant principal. Like I've learned so much from her too, just about structure and about, asking the right questions and just being really thoughtful about things. So I've learned a lot from her.
I love that so much. I got the chills when you're talking about that, and also especially even mentioning Chelsea, and just like we can learn from everyone.
Yeah.
And I love that for the last 20 plus years, the whole William Smith community has had so much consistency and stability and steady hand with you there as well. So like you only had two principals, but the folks who have been at William Smith for a long time, the most they've had is three.
Yep. Yep. Which is the most they've
awesome.
had.
Yeah. Really great. So having been in the district and at William Smith specifically for a while now, and you must have seen some changes throughout the years. And we talked a little bit about that recently in Loveland at the CASE conference. But, how has your leadership evolved alongside, some of the changes that have just happened in Colorado and in Aurora and even at William Smith the last 20 years?
Yeah. You take those like leadership strengths tests or genetics or whatever, and I am supremely confident that whatever it was 10 years ago is different now. Like you just learn
about 6 months ago.
Right. Like it's not even 10 years ago, like last summer. You learn so much in the journey that completely changes who you are. And like, I remember one time, it's kind of early on in my leadership journey and wasn't quite sure how to make that transition from a teacher to a leader in the same building, and like these people are my friends. Like I've known them since I was young, and now I'm like their boss. And so I think I was a little too like comfortable or mellow about things. And I remember one of the teachers in like a feedback survey we had saying, you're so chill about stuff. Sometimes it comes off as like lackadaisical or like, and like that was, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. And it stuck with me forever of like, I'm always need to be reflective and always need to be confident in who I am and lead with that and lead with people in mind and be the leader that someone knows, okay, she's got it. Right. Like she's not just like, it's fine. Like that people are confident in. And so that changes as your population changes, right? People need different things. And so as our staff has changed over the year, and as COVID happened and the kids have changed and their needs have changed, there's a lot more of the whole child that needs to be addressed, right? There's just so much more mental health and there's so much more just caring and relationships that need to be built, that your leadership style changes to adapt to what they need,
Right.
right? But whatever it is, it has to be, your staff has to feel confident that you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got it. And so it's like you just have to be the most flexible, adaptable person. So you've got to be the listener and the like, I can cry with you if we need to, or the what are you doing? The like disciplinarian also.
Yep.
And the accountability person also. And you have to have both sides of that. And I think, I've learned that it's not one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a balance. Yeah.
That's incredible. Let's talk a little bit more about William Smith. As I mentioned earlier, just recognizing y'all are the highest performing district-run high school in Aurora Public Schools. Would love to hear a little bit about, what's been key to getting y'all there, and how are y'all sustaining that?
I mean, I think part of what we already talked about, right, of having that sustainable leadership pipeline, and so that you're not constantly reinventing the wheel or having a new mission and vision all the time.
Right.
You can keep working and keep getting better and having the same end goal and the same structure, right? So we've been expeditionary learning for 18 years now, so that's like that framework of this is who we are and this is what we do and this is why kids choose to come here. I think the choice thing is a big part of it. So students choose to come to William Smith. Teachers choose to work there for the same reasons, right? They did not fit in the traditional school for whatever reason, right? As a teacher or as a student. And it's, people say, what's the typical William Smith student, right? And I say, the student that chooses us. That's the student. Right?
That's the thing they've got in common. Right.
That's it, right? They could choose us because, they want the hands-on learning. They could choose us because we're small. They could choose us because we go on trips. Like there's a million reasons, but all of that forms to this really unique, special place where kids are seen and they're valued. Every single one of them. Nobody falls through the cracks and nobody gets left behind. And that's because my staff is amazing and because the kids are great to each other, right? There's a real community there that they look after each other. They support each other. They send me an email and say, so-and-so's not in class. Can you go get them? Like the kids will send me an email telling on their friends, right? Can you, something's going on. So that community is so strong.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, there's a reason I've been there forever.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you that. Well, what is something that, that brings you back, 20 years?
It definitely is the people, like the kids and their families and the teachers and just the community that we have there. They are my people. They've been through it with me through the best and worst times of my own life. And they've been with each other through that. I've seen kids grow up and now are married. So it's the people, but it's also the feeling that you can always be thinking about what's next and what's new. And you have the ability to do it.
Yes.
So you can always be thinking about, okay, here's where we are right now. Do we need to keep doing it this way? What's the data saying?
Yeah.
What's next? What's the new thing? How do we get ahead of what the kids need? And you feel like you have the systems and structures and the people to make those things happen. So you don't get frustrated, you don't get burnout, you don't get all those things. Like everything is there to create and to innovate and think about what do our kids need.
Indeed. You mentioned this already a little bit. The staff also need to know that you've got it, and that feeling of transitioning from teacher to AP to principal, and considering that leadership often requires difficult decisions. How do you approach those moments when you need to make a tough call that is maybe not going to be popular with the people who you love and who are your friends and your colleagues?
Yeah, I think I am lucky that I do have such a great staff. And if you think about what's best for the kids, then they will follow you wherever, So you always have to make decisions about what's best for the kids. It's not about what's easy for me or what's easy for other people. Or last week at the case conference in one of the sessions, the phrase like efficiency over excellence, right? That it's never that. Like, it's never about what's efficient or what's easy. It's about what do the kids need to be excellent. And so, I think that's why people are teachers. Like, they care about the kids and they want what's best for them. So if you frame things, even if it's difficult, even if there's budget cuts or there's, things that happen in the community that are really hard, or, whatever you have to navigate, as long as this is what's best for our kids, that's how you got to frame it.
Absolutely. That's a gem for folks who are listening. Thank you. Totally agree. Let's go a little light here. Thinking about the leadership playlist. So
yes, I have been thinking about it.
Yeah, good. We need the right soundtrack. So I think first, in previous conversations, you've heard we've talked a little bit about some of the books that maybe we're reading or that have inspired us. What's a book that's influenced your leadership approach, or even just something that you've recently read or read at some point that you would recommend to leaders out there?
I think probably the most impactful one I read was actually not about education. It's called Creativity Inc.
Oh, cool.
And it's about Pixar and like the formation of Pixar and how they work as a team and how they, like crank out these movies, that are really quality, good products. That's probably one that I keep coming back to and, is like highlighted and all that about just leadership moves and strategies and how you get people to move with you and change. Another one is from some authors that are connected with EL called Leaders of Their Own Learning. And it's about, just how to get students to have ownership over their education, in all ways. Yeah, those are the professional books, I think.
Yeah, those are great.
I go through the most.
I haven't read the latter. I think Creativity Inc. It's been a little while.
It came out a long time ago. I mean, it was like a long when I was like a baby administrator. It was a long time ago.
One of the books that I recently read with our transformative learning and design team is From Tinkering to Transformation, and like we literally just finished, I think this week, chapter 7, the final chapter. And in it, one of the things that stood out to me was, we didn't talk about budget or finance in this book because, in this study that we did, that wasn't something that came up. But one of the things that they mentioned related to budget that I've been thinking about a lot recently, as
it's budget season.
It's budget season, as you know, is that transformation at a school or at a school district should actually be a cost neutral change, because inherently you're doing something different, but you got to stop doing this other thing that is
not working
and taking up your resources and do this new thing. And so, it's been on my mind a lot lately. Of course, would love to hear in terms of music, what's playing in your headphones lately.
So yeah, I was thinking about it because I love music, and I feel like I like most things. I think when I need to just like get things done, I'm in my office and I have to do whatever, I put on some kind of old school, Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, Prince. I love 80s music. But when I'm like really wanting to hear something new or something different, I can't even remember his name, Teddy Swims.
Oh
yeah, like that's kind of been new to me lately. I was like, oh, I really like this guy. But then, and when I'm at home and I just want to chill out, it's like Leon Bridges or things like that. I'm gonna go see him at Red Rocks this summer.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I think it depends, right? It's very mood dependent.
Absolutely.
And if I need to like motivate to get something done, or if I'm just hanging out at home or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. For the last week, so literally last Friday, and as we've flip the camera for folks who view it, but my go-to is hip hop. We play a lot of Motown in here as well, but big on the 90s hip hop, but 80s and the 2000s as well. And there's a incredible artist named Nino Bless, who I joined his email listserv many years ago. And last Friday, he sent an email to us who are still on that list and said, "Hey, I just recorded this 9-minute song. It's not going to be out until next Friday, which is today. Please check it out. Don't share it out, but let me know what you think." And it was funny. Like that night, I think my wife and I went out, and I was like listening to it. She's not as interested, but I've been listening to that song. It's called God's Ghostwriter, and it's the part 3. But yeah, incredible. Incredible.
I will check that out.
All right, we're at our lightning round. So as we approach the final lap of our conversation, let's sprint through some quick reflections. What does Destination APS mean to you?
It's such a cool phrase, I feel like, to strive to make APS someplace that, again, people choose to be, right? So that's what I've done at William Smith. Like, people choose to be there. And so to make APS a place where we have what students need. We have choice for them. We have choice for families. We have the supports that they need, and they're choosing to come to us based on that, So to me, it comes back to that choice of, I'm choosing you over someplace else, not just because I live here. Right. I think that is such a cool thing, and something that I'm really excited about, that direction.
I love that. What advice would you give to a new principal just starting their journey? Actually have the opportunity this afternoon to interview some finalists for one of our schools. So what advice would you give them?
Well, hire people that are smarter than you are. Find yourself a Chelsea. That's what, find yourself someone that you can be a team with, and that is not the same as you. I think that's
a gem too. Hashtag find yourself a Chelsea.
Find yourself a Chelsea. Friends.
Yeah. And then my last question, what legacy do you hope to leave at William Smith? I don't know if you're ever going to leave, but at some point, what do you want to be remembered by?
But I really, and this is I have 2 things. So one thing, I would love to be the principal that finally gets us a gym. That's a thing that I really want for our kids.
Is it on your mom project?
It's, I have a meeting with them in March, those things. So that's a physical thing that I want to be, it's important. But I think as far as just when people look back at William Smith or think about me, right, that she's someone that made me feel valued, whether you're a student or a staff member, someone that made me feel valued, made me feel important, and made it so that I could be successful.
That's incredible. I'm sure that you are a living legend, and that's already true about you. Kristin, thank you so much for sharing your leadership journey with us today. Your commitment to William Smith demonstrates how deep roots can create extraordinary growth. Throughout our conversation, your insights highlight how leadership is truly a marathon, long-term distance requiring both endurance and adaptability. Join us next time as we continue our leadership journey with a middle school leader who will share their unique experience on guiding students through those pivotal transition years. Until then, keep running your race with purpose.